Hello, beautiful. Welcome to today's conversation where we're going to talk about one's journey to breathe, exhale, and thrive. Let's talk about it. I'm your host, Shannon Martin, and welcome to today's episode of this thing called wellness. Welcome back. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, Shana Scott-Lee, the visionary founder of Breathe and Exhale 360, a wellness brand dedicated to helping women embrace self-care, healing, and personal growth. Through her company, Shana offers life coaching, quarterly subscription boxes, and wellness retreats, all designed to support women on their journey to balance and inner peace. She's been featured in Voyage Dallas, Shout Out, and Bold publications for her incredible work in the wellness space. Shana's mission is deeply personal, guided by the scripture Song of Solomon 4:7. You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you. It's this message that drives her to empower women to feel valued, whole, and capable of thriving. Today, we'll explore how her personal self-care journey led to the creation of Breathe and Exhale 360, what participants can expect from her upcoming retreat, and how she balances her role as CEO and life coach while enjoying time with her husband, family, and friends. Let's listen in. Hi, Shana. Thank you for being here today. We're so excited to have Shana from Breathe and Excel 360. We met years ago at a conference, and we have been friends ever since. So thank you for being here today.
I am happy to be here. Yes, I get to hang out with my girlfriend. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. It's been a hard time catching up with you. You have been so busy, but a good busy.
Yeah.
So, Shana, I wanted to ask you, we talked about breathe and exhale, but I never really asked you about, your personal retreat that led you to create and breathe and exhale 360. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So, it's funny and interesting at the same time. I always said I wanted to have my own business, but I never exactly knew what type of business.
Mhm.
So when I came up with my retreat, so how my retreat even came about, it was the pandemic. Of course, it was 2020,
Right.
and then in 2021, the year later, we were still under certain advisory. And all my friends were actually doing the pandemic very differently. And I typically, for my birthday, I typically do something with my friends and then I do something with my husband. So
Mm.
that particular year, since everybody was doing the pandemic very, very differently, I didn't want anybody to come in and then they get COVID, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Right.
and all those things. So I said, well, I still want to do something for my birthday. So I said, let me go ahead and plan a retreat and do something and go out of town because I love to travel. I love to explore new cities and just see what
Right.
they have to offer. So I always wanted to go to Fredericksburg. So I ended up going there. Fredericksburg, Texas, and it is a wine country. They
Mm.
also call it the Hill Country. So I created with going on a retreat because I'm so extra. I decided to create myself like a little basket. When you go to a retreat, you go to any conference, they give you a little goodie bag. So I said, I
Right.
created my own little goodie bag. So I created myself a little goodie bag, and from there, that actually was the start of Breathe and Exhale. So when I went the weekend. It was a fabulous weekend. Went by myself.
Hmm.
My husband just wanted me to check in with him every night just to make sure I got back safe
Right.
and everything. And part of that with wanting to launch my own business, I was also scared because, of
Mm.
course, you're scared when you put things out. Is people going to receive it, or is people going to reject it? What are
Right.
people going to say? Things such as that. So that was part of it too. So while I was in Fredericksburg, I wanted to go and see the sunrise. I love sunrises and I love sunsets. And
Yes.
I particularly wanted to see the sunrise at this park. It's one of the national state parks, and I
Hmm.
wanted to go and see the sunrise, not thinking it's pitch dark because, of course, if I'm trying to see sunrise, I gotta get before the sunrise.
All
It's
right.
pitch dark, and it's roads I'm not familiar with.
Oh no.
And like I said, it's hill country, so it's a lot of hills and a lot of twists and turns. And it was such a scary experience.
Right.
And I just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, when I finally made it to the national park, first of all, I thank God that I made it safely because I was like, Lord, this is
Absolutely.
good in itself, but just trying to get here. And it was so many times I wanted to quit. So many times I wanted to like just turn around. And
Right.
but another part of me was like, keep going, keep going. So you can see the beautiful sunrise. And I was able to see the beautiful sunrise while the moon is disappearing. It was so beautiful. And in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I realized that's kind of like fear, right?
Mm.
That, and I can put this whole analogy of, it wasn't that I wasn't afraid while I was trying to get to the sunrise because I was, but it's also about how I'm channeling that fear, right? And
Right.
still continuing to go and still getting to see the destination and doing it while it's scared. So ever since that moment, I started like saying, and I started seeing it more and more. I'm seeing people saying it. Do it even when you do it. Do it while you're scared. Do it when I'm scared. I mean, like
Exactly.
I'm still gonna do it. It doesn't minimize the fact that I'm fearful or scared or anything like that. It also propels me to like, okay, you can still do this even with all those different emotions.
Right.
So breathe and exhale. So that was that event alone. Number one, it gave me the idea of starting a business and
Mm-hmm.
creating like a personalized gift basket, get like something that I could send to people for them to do their own self care. It's
Right.
like so the tangible thing it did with my personal retreat, but it also gave me the permission per se to go
Mm.
out and say, hey, I'm going to start this business, and even though I'm fearful of all these things, and I can list everything that I'm fearful of, but I can still do it and still acknowledge my fears. So yeah,
Right.
so that's how my personal retreat came into place of in launching my business, Breathe and Excel.
Wow, that is awesome. So, how did you come up with the name? Was it from the seeing the sun and the sun setting and rising and the moon setting?
No, actually, it's funny. I wanted to name it. I forgot what I was trying to think about. What was the original thought? The original name I was going to name it, but then I was still playing around with it because it just didn't settle. And then I thought about my business. So my business is in essence reminding women to take time for themselves, to
Mm-hmm.
do self care, to love on themselves, to
Mm-hmm.
empower themselves. So with all of that being said, I thought about that and I thought, when we are rushing, when we are running around and we wear multiple hats as women, I wanted it. One day I was like driving and I thought about the breath, like breathing. And I
Right.
was like, man, like if we could just take a breath, right? And
Mm.
so then exhale. So now I was like, well, what goes with breath? What goes with breath? What goes with breathing? And then exhale came to mind. And so breathe and exhale. And I was like, yeah, because when we're running around and we're wearing multiple hats, if we
Yes.
can just take a moment to breathe, and then with
Mm-hmm.
the exhale of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just releasing anything that is hindering us, anything that is bottled up in us, any stresses, any worry, because that's part of it is that I want women to know that, you know, we do have stress in this world. We do have worry. We have all those
Right.
things. But if you exhale and just start taking like some deep breaths and exhaling, then that really helps. So being able to
Absolutely.
channel what you're just channel what's going on with you.
Yes.
So that's where the breathing and the exhale came from. And then the 360 came from really I was just thinking like for the whole woman. Breathe and
Mm.
exhale, we just don't just focus on, yes, to me self-care is not just I am an advocate of doing like massages and facials and
Right.
manicures and pedicures and all that great jazz. But we also focus on the whole woman. So if you're a mother and with children, you know, and trying to, how do you incorporate getting some time to recharge yourself so you can show up
Right.
and be the best mother for those children, right? So we
Right.
think about that aspect of it. And I have someone on my team that actually, you know, gives me they help me come up with ways for moms to incorporate their child in self-care, right? So
I love
so
that.
that aspect. Then I think about the finances, right? If our money ain't right, we ain't thinking about no self-care. Self-care is one of the
Nothing.
first things to go because we don't think we're worthy of it because it's like we
Exactly.
can't put it in the budget because it's like, hey, I got bills, I gotta make sure my lights on before I
Right.
go and do this facial, right? So we
Exactly.
have that mindset. So making sure that our finances are you know are up to staff, up to par. So I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I do love like learning about finances and how to make our finances better. So
Exactly.
so we have that aspect of it. So in my weekly newsletter, we talk about the finance. We have like a finance section where I give a tidbit
I
about
love that section.
finances. So that's where the 360 came from. Just thinking about the whole woman, and then breathing exhale just came about of when I think about women and I think about what we deal with and everything. It's like I
Yeah.
want women to remember to breathe as well
Yeah.
as exhale.
I love
So
all of that, Shauna. That is
yeah.
amazing. I love that.
Mhm.
So, how has your personal journey? I know that you said that you're for all things wellness. How has that also uh, helped you cultivate breathe and exhale?
Yeah, so I've always been a person. I didn't know the term, right? And I know
Right.
self care is like it was like one of those like words that was like so overused and everybody, right? Everybody using it
Is
now
that
and
your ching
everything,
word?
right? One of those two words, right? And with that, it was one of those situations where I was doing self care before I knew it was a term for it. I just thought it was my quality time, right?
Right.
My
My me
own
time.
quality time. That's what I was calling it. I was like, it's my quality time for myself. And so ever since I can remember, I always been the child that wanted to journal,
Mm,
and express myself and talk about how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life. I've always been that person. I always been the person that believes in going to take walks and spending time with themselves to really replenish myself,
yes.
right?
Hmm.
I love being around people. And it's not that I necessarily believe I'm an introvert because
Hmm.
I'm really I think I'm a little bit of both, which they call that ambivert.
Yes, me too.
But so for me, I'm like I always just want to have time with myself so I can check in with myself. So
Mm.
I've done that way like ever since I was a child. And then in college, I used to like make myself bubble baths. I used to like have my candles, have my listen. I love me India Ari. I love me some India Ari. I would play some India Ari
You and
and
that friend.
in the moment and everything.
Yeah.
So it was so natural when it came to like breathe and exhale 360
Mm,
of hey, I can tell you about if you're a busy person, how to incorporate self care and what things that you can do around the house and things that you can do for free. You don't always have to pay to do self
right.
care, right? And so, then there are times that you want to pay and you want to splurge and you want to treat yourself,
Right.
and that is completely okay. So, with all of that, that's where that's how I incorporate my personal life with breathe and exhale is coming from my own personal experience,
Hmm.
and then even now, even though yes, I have a business, I have a family, I have friends, I am still in corporate America,
Hmm.
and I have a job and everything on all those things. But I still try to make time, and not really try. I really schedule it in to
Mm,
say I'm still going to do it because I can't have a business about self care, but then don't do self care.
that
So
part.
I
Yeah.
always make sure that that's part of it. So, and as I evolve, as I continue to grow, and just look at what are some ways that I can continue to help women know, like it's important to spend time with yourself, and to take time for yourself.
So you just went to my next question. So how you said one of the things is that you schedule time in for yourself.
Yes.
So how what other tips can you have someone that has all these busy lives? Because we all are doing like entrepreneur, we're mothers, we're wives, we're all the things. So how do you put that time in for yourself?
Yeah. So one is scheduling it. I definitely say, okay, schedule the time, right? Sometimes it's about being impromptu. And what I always try to tell people, it doesn't have to be so lavish, right? If you
Right.
find that while you're driving, because it's going to be different seasons, and I acknowledge that, right? There are
Right.
different seasons where we are more busier than we can even imagine, and then there are times when we're not as busy. Those
Mm.
moments when you find that I'm like, oh my gosh, when am I going to schedule it? I can't figure out when I'm going to schedule it and everything like that. Use your car. Right when you're driving, turn off the radio, right, and just
Mm.
have a moment of silence. Have a moment that you talk to yourself. Yesterday, I was driving to one of my friend's house actually, and it's a lot of things that are going on right now in my life, and I haven't been. I've journaled, but I haven't been able to. And I got an epiphany while I was driving. And
Mm.
so I actually turned down the music. I turned off the music. I turned on my recorder on my phone, and I just started talking and downloading what the epiphany was while I was driving.
Mm.
Right.
That's good.
Sometimes
Hmm.
it's just as simple as just being in your car and you spending time with yourself, and just reclaiming that moment for yourself.
Right.
Sometimes it is being in your car listening to your nice music your favorite song and just jamming out to it. I've done that. I've done that where it's a song that comes from the blast, and I'm like starting to jam. I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to love this song, and
Yeah.
I'll turn it up and I'll start singing it and everything, and it makes you feel really good. The endorphins
Hmm.
start going and everything like that. So that's what I tell people, like, you can schedule it. You can go ahead and just don't overthink it,
Yeah.
and just try to steal some time. Figure out in your schedule where can I steal some time,
Mm.
before you have to pick up the kids, or before you walk in the house. What can you do if you're a mother and you're a single mother and you find that I really like, what am I going to do with my child? Go for a walk. Go for
Yeah.
a walk, right? It's something simple as that. Going for a walk in your neighborhood, go for a walk in the park, and
Hmm.
have your child go for a walk. Have them on their bike, or just have them walk alongside. Sometimes kids, they gonna run and jump and everything like that. So while they're and make sure you can see them, of
Yeah.
course, but let them go, and then they get that energy out
Right.
too. So that even helps you when you bring them back home, because then they
They go to
ready,
bed.
right? Like, they ready to go to bed. So things such as that. So if you're a single mom, you can't find someone to babysit your child, or you can't find and your child just have to always be with you, then
Yeah.
I always recommend, like, going to the park, going to get ice cream.
Yeah.
Sometimes even treating them, but you're also treating yourself. Going
Right.
and, like, you're sitting there. And you can even talk, I'm a firm believer in, like, talking to your child and saying, hey, like, how do you feel? How was school today? And they're taking that as party time with their mom,
Right.
but it's also a time that you can just decompress and just enjoy this precious moment, right?
Yeah.
So don't overthink it. Find little pockets in your schedule
Hmm.
that you can steal away, like 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's part of it, and then the other part of it too. I mean, you can't do something every day. I'm not one to say you got to have some type of self care every day.
Right.
That's the ideal. That's the goal, right? But
Right.
if we're being realistic, because we're wearing multiple hats, that may not be an option. So
Right.
even if you shoot for once a week or shoot for once a month, start
Mm.
off with like once a month, and then it will grow to once a week, and then it can
Hmm.
grow to probably 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And even if it's like going to the gym, like things such as that you can
Yeah.
find and say, you know what, I'm doing this for myself.
Hmm.
And I'm not allowing anything to interrupt that time for me.
Right. And that's so important because I used to walk with my mom. I never understood that was her time.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I remember and enjoying it so much because it was just our time together. But it was also her
exactly.
time to, walk and pray and all the things for the daily life. So
Right.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So you're coming up with a retreat that's coming up. Tell us about your retreat. And it's sold out. And I'm so excited for you. I'm just like, oh my goodness. How
Yes,
how
yes,
did that
yes,
come to fruition?
yes. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you. Woo, 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 woo. Yes, 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 yes. Something beautiful retreat. My first annual self care retreat, and it's called Something Beautiful.
I love
And
that.
it actually, when I birthed, breathe, and exhale
Hmm.
360. I actually I wanted to do retreats as well,
Right.
but I was kind of gearing up towards retreat. And
Right.
then this year, and then like towards the end of last year, I was like trying to think like, what do I want to, how do I want to grow my business?
Hmm.
And everything. How do I want to stretch my business?
Right.
And I thought about like, is it time to do a retreat? And I remember, and so I have a business plan. I have like goals, and I
Right.
said, my third year, I want to start doing retreats. Well,
Okay.
in October 1st will be 3 years. Okay,
Woo-hoo! Yes.
yes, yes. So with that, I said, okay, well, it's that time, right?
Right.
So I thought about, okay, I thought about my own personal retreat, what I went on, and
Right.
what things that I can take from it, what things
Mm.
I would change, and everything. Like now with the group of women, so we're going back to Fredericksburg, where I went on
Yes.
my personal retreat. That is the first place.
Right.
Every year, I want to change the location,
Hmm.
and so with that, I thought about like I do want to spend some time that we get to explore the city because I never want to go to somewhere and it's like we just in the house and we ain't explored the city. Like no, this is a new city. I want to explore the
I want to see what's going on.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a part of us spending time with one. And I wanted the retreat to be relaxing. I
Yes.
want it to be fun. I had
Right.
like certain adjectives that I was like I want the women to walk away feeling refreshed.
Mm.
So with that, I have some of the so some of the activities is at the house. We are
Hmm.
going to be relaxing, enjoying each other, and then it is some time that we are exploring the city, and we're going to, Fredericksburg is known for a wine country, so we are doing a wine tasting.
Awesome.
I'm very big on having a nice dinner.
Yes.
Listen, I am all about experiences, right? So I'm like, hey, if I go on any type of trip, I don't care. We can eat, we can like find like different cheap places to eat. But
Yeah.
one night we gotta have a good
Good
meal.
meal.
And I'm not saying you gotta break the bank, but it gotta be
Right.
a good experience and
A
everything.
nice experience.
So with that, instead of going to a restaurant, I decided to hire a private chef. So we're having a
Mm.
private dinner with the retreats. And then we are going to be doing some activities and just some activities individually and as well as a group, so we can bond with one another. Because I also want it to be a retreat that I'm able to work with the ladies individually,
Hmm.
but at the same time, also opportunity that we can bond, and
Right.
we can get to know each other and everything, because that's important to me. Sisterhood is important to
Yes.
me.
It's very
So that
important.
was one of my attitudes that I had for the retreat, is I
Mm.
wanted to be a sisterhood. Not saying
Hmm.
everybody's going to walk out and they're going to, but I do want to start something that, hey, I met this young lady at a retreat,
Right.
and here we are, how many months later, and I still talk to her. I still call and check up on her, because I realized that we're all learning together. So,
Right. That's awesome. I love that whole concept. I'm just excited for it.
yes, yes, thank you.
And so you have another accomplishment
Mhm.
as a life coach. So
Yes.
how did you think that becoming a life coach would encompass into, breathe and exhale?
Yeah, so it's funny because I started working. So last year, again, last year, I worked with this young lady about. She was kind of stuck. She was like, I don't know what I want to do with my if, I know I need to go to college, but I don't know what I need to major in, right?
Right.
And so one night I went over to her house and we sat down and we talked about all the different options that she had in front of her. We talked through some things, and afterwards I know her aunt, and her aunt was like, she told me that I see you working with individual women. I really do, because you break it down and you help in
Mm,
such a way that's not intimidating, that's not fearful,
right.
but you also speak truth. So I thought about that and I was like, really? And I was like, well, I always thought about doing retreats. And so I was like, yeah. But I was always thinking of like the fun aspect of it and just helping ladies just to see like we're more similar than we think we are. And then I was like, okay, well, if I'm doing this retreat, and I said, and in this climate, I'm very much aware that we all have so many things going on,
Right.
and some of us are hurting, but we don't vocalize our hurt because we're
No.
wearing this mask because we
Mm-hmm.
think, I'm supposed to show up this way, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, with that being said, I was like, well, maybe I do need to look into doing a life or get some type of certification. And so
Right.
with that, I also thought about, I'm always that friend that my friends call to get advice from, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
that friend. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, well, I know. So even when I was thinking about my business, and then I started realizing, like, well, you've always been that person that just gives.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to help people. I want to
Mm-hmm.
encourage people. That's one of my gifts, is that I have a gift of encouragement. So I'm
Right.
like, well, with that being said, I was like, oh, and I was like, well, to be a therapist, I said that means going back to school for real, like,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's like, and it's not just I'm like, I gotta get a master's, get a license, like, get an LS. I'm like,
That's a lot.
that's a lot. That's a lot. So I was like, well, I do want something that can certify me to say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm willing to walk with you through this journey. I'm
Right.
willing to walk with you through this season of life, and help you come out on the other end,
Mm-hmm.
successfully and as whole as you can be. Right.
I
So I
love
was like,
that.
what can do that? And so that's where I was like, let me get certified as a life. So that's how the whole life coach came about, is that I want to help people, walk with them through a season and help them become better individuals on the other side of it.
I love that, Shauna. I love that so much. Because I
Mhm.
know that also too, you've been doing summits and conferences and everything. So how has that been, just sharing your experiences with a larger audience?
Yeah, you know what? It's been fun. It's been so fun. People
Hmm.
have been taken to me because I always try to tell people, like, hey, I'm just here, just trying to help,
Right.
remind you. Really, really, whenever I go and I speak at summits and conferences, I just want to remind women that they are wonderfully and beautifully made.
Hmm.
That their paths to show up as their authentic self,
Hmm.
even if it's something that happened to them, that is all. Like, if it's something that when you're comfortable with sharing,
Yes.
if something bad happened to you, that's part of your superpower, right? And not to be
Mm.
afraid of that, not to be ashamed of that. That is part of your superpower, because you can show up and you can speak to that aspect, and you have
Hmm.
such a different perspective, right?
I love that.
We show up, with the compassion, and things such as that. So my job, whenever I go and talk to these summits and conferences and things like such as that,
Hmm.
is to remind people to not only take time for themselves, but to
Hmm.
also remind them that they are awesome, they are wonderful, and if they show up as them as themselves, recognizing their superpower,
Mm.
then they help the next woman. They help the
I
next woman.
love that.
We're all
Yeah.
here to help each other, and that's
Exactly.
important. So, and if we can just get to a space that we're empowering each other,
Hmm.
it's even better. So that I just show up to give reminders. That's all. That's all. They
I
already
love
people
that
know
though.
this, and sometimes it takes a little minute to really understand it. Number one, and to not be afraid of it, and to lean into it. So to just to remind them, and to encourage them to press in on that space.
And also too, when you hear from someone else that you kind of know or may not know, to actually hear that, it kind of awakens something in you to say,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
gentle, that like a gentle reminder to say, hey, it's time for you to take time out for yourself, or whatever your message was for the day, and that comes across so much better. I love that. Love that. Okay, ma'am. So what do we have to see for breathe and exhale down the line? Your long-term goals. What do we see?
Oh my goodness, you're going to see more retreats. I actually have an idea. I have a couple ideas. But I'm just starting. Well, I actually have an idea for just one more type of retreat, and so we shall see if that comes to fruition next year,
Okay.
along with along with the self-care retreat. So you'll see more retreats.
Okay.
You'll also see me as a life coach. I do plan on. So right now, with being a life coach, I am right now creating my formula, my kits, and everything.
Yes.
My strategies and all those things. And then in 2025, in January 2025, I'm officially launching like the life care, the life coach aspect.
Okay.
Of breathe and exhale, and so I'm excited about that. So
I'm excited too.
You can be in the know.
Yes.
That. And then and honestly, just continuing to remind women that they have a voice, and to use their voice, and that everything that they are going through in their life, to take time to stop, smell the roses. I know it sounds cliche, but to smell the roses,
right.
As well as reminding them that they too have something great inside them. So that's what you'll be seeing in the future of me. It's just all those things: retreats, life coach, as well as just reminding people of who they are.
I love that, Shana. And I'm so excited to see all of that, because, I'll be here and I'll support you in any way I can. And I will make sure that all of your contact information is in our show notes, so that everyone can reach out with you and sign up for your newsletter, so they can keep up with what's going on with Breathe and Exhale, and what Shana Scott-Lee has coming up. So, ma'am, I thank you so much for being on this thing called wellness. And I'm excited to see what's in store for you, and wishing you so much more success.
Thank you. And the same to you. I wish nothing but success. I love the podcast.
Thank you so much.
I am just so proud of you too.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, or enjoy the show in general, please do me a favor and rate our show on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen in. This will help listeners find us and help them find our wellness community. Thank you so much. Disclaimer: I am not a licensed mental health professional. The information provided here is for general informational purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you need help, please consult a qualified mental health professional.